Hello, I'm Maroš, and you're watching TVP World Talks, where every word matters. Everyone is talking about the US elections, but in their shadow, another very important political event is taking place. The new European Commission is being formed. Prospective commissioners will have to stand before the scrutiny of the European Parliament. In particular, we have the prospective Trade Commissioner Maroš Šefčovič, who has been answering questions from the European Parliament. Why does it matter so much? And is it possible that this process is going to be quite different from that in the previous years? And why will that be so? Well, all these questions hopefully will be answered in this interview. And we'll be talking to our guest today, Vadym Zheltovskyy, assistant professor from the University of Warsaw, to find out more about this story. Hello and welcome to TVP World.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So let us begin with the process itself. Why does it matter so much? To what extent would you say that this is actually, the crucial moment where all the commissioners will be able to present their stance on the issues they hope to be put in charge of?
Well, you're absolutely right. This is absolutely crucial and important moment, but it might look a little boring for an observer because each commissioner designate comes for 3 hours for interviews, answering questions from MEPs. But from the bigger picture, this is very important moment and very important week because we could hear the vision of each commissioner designate, how they see the next 5 years of they being in office. And if anything, we could learn from the, almost 1,000 days of Russian barbaric invasion of Ukraine is that personalities matter. And in fact, these people who will be confirmed, who will be next commissioners in Ursula von der Leyen Commission, according to Ursula von der Leyen, will have full ownership of the agreed agenda, and it will directly depend on them, the tempo and scale of agreed agenda. Therefore, the selection and confirmation of these candidates will have a very significant impact on how the agenda will be implemented, and we are all short of time, so there should be fast and efficient action.
So you actually mentioned Ukraine, and I would like to make a quick but important detour here, because we're talking about the Trade Commissioner, so not exactly responsible for foreign policy in the broader sense. But we have important issues. We have, for example, how Brussels may wish to renew its trade agreement with Ukraine, while at the same time ensuring the interests of the farmers are addressed within the European Union. From what you've seen already, do you think that Maroš Šefčovič will be able to handle this issue and also a related issue of trade embargoes vis-a-vis countries like Belarus? Because this, it's an aspect of foreign policy, but it's also trade. Very important at this stage, isn't it?
Well, absolutely. We cannot say that only enlargement policy is top agenda for European Commission, but Trade Commissioner will have a very important portfolio and a very important mission in order to set the priorities. Because when we talk about relations with potential newcomers in terms of ambitious 2030 enlargement agenda, we talk about Ukraine first and foremost, especially in terms of agricultural sector, and the role of new commissioner for trade, new commissioner for agriculture, new commissioner for enlargement. They will be very much, they will have to work as a team, they will have to set priorities and also to meet the expectations of member states, because let's not forget that member states government remain in driver's seat when it comes to foreign policy, and they will also decide and base their decision on the future development of accession process among others, and to a large extent on the way the Trade Commissioner will set a deal with candidate states.
So now we also have a very important event, which is, it's adjacent to what's happening at the European Parliament, but it's impossible to ignore, namely the US elections. Do you think that the elections in the US are imbuing this process with a sense of urgency, that the European Union really wants to be ready to tackle any challenges of cooperation, regardless who wins, and who becomes the next US president?
Absolutely. US elections, and I would say even more broadly, the geopolitical settings European Union finds itself in play a crucial role in decision-making process and tempo of this decision-making process. Therefore, there are expectations that the Commission will be constituted by 1st of December in order to start functioning. And the gravity of the situation from geopolitical perspective requires a European institution to coordinate the action and to be prepared for any outcome that might come from US elections in the first place. But also it shows that European Commission should further develop its transformational potential in the neighborhood. Your previous news episodes from today morning showed that no scenario is irreversible. Georgia, Moldova, they all show that European Union transformational politics in terms of neighbors is should be on top agenda. And of course, it would be much more efficient if such policy is coordinated with US as transatlantic partner.
And speaking of the overall agenda, you've mentioned the question of integration, of the neighborhood policy of the European Union. We also have the question of Europe's sovereign decisions in the field of defense. Now, quite recently, Poland's Prime Minister Donald Tusk said, whoever wins in Washington, the era of outsourcing geopolitics is over for Europe. Europe needs to make a stand on its own. Defense production, foreign policy. Would you say that these also will be, the main challenges for the new European Commission in the months and years ahead?
Well, definitely. And I would say the quote that you were just saying resembles the major takeaways from Mario Draghi report, right? Because the analysts agree that the European Union, in order to develop and in order to build its transformational potential and structural force, cannot rely longer on a cheap Russian gas or dependencies on Chinese markets or security guaranteed by United States of America. So these are three major priorities of Draghi report, and this is absolutely important if we want to be successful and meet the very ambitious agenda in general about what this commission announces.
And a very quick question, because we have about 1 minute left. Do you think that political parties within the European Parliament have little appetite for any sort of confrontation, and simply, all these candidates will pass because there is no desire for confrontation at this stage between the parties?
Well, I will put it briefly. Consensus is a key word that you hear in Brussels when you talk to policy advisors or assistants to MEPs or MEPs themselves. And this geopolitical context that we talked about is an additional incentive for political groups in European Parliament to keep this consensus and to have it sustainable. That is why we might witness in a week the first situation, which didn't happen before, that all the candidates will be confirmed, or there will be some reshuffling in their portfolio responsibilities. However, nothing is predicted and nothing is sure at this moment, because there are at least two controversial candidates.
Well, Maroš Šefčovič, for example, the future trade commissioner, is not one of them. According to Politico, the hearings went very well despite the plethora of issues that he'll have to face, including also the question of electric vehicles, the tariffs on China, a totally different topic that we don't really have time to cover today, but that basically also will inform many of the decisions of the future trade commissioner. Vadym Zheltovskyy was a guest today here on TVP World. Thank you very much for joining us and for sharing your expertise.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
And I'm Maroš. You're watching TVP World. Please stay with us for more latest news and updates.